live on the set. Welcome to the Bayou, a place where legends are born and many have witnessed them. From Coach Dale to Shaq, Joe and J.B. to Eddie Kennison. You come to Death Valley or P-Mac, expect that voodoo. Top speed like it's 4-2, but nobody's catching Boo2. Represent the Chuck and WM no matter what. From Gosport to a legend, that's what's up.
Well, welcome to another edition of Geaux2Legends, man. I'm super excited about my guest today. You guys know all about him. You've seen him. You heard him. You cheered and chanted his name inside Tiger Stadium. But before I give his formal introduction, I'll start off by saying this. If no one has told you today, let me be the first to tell you, I love you with the love of Christ. There's absolutely nothing that you can do about it, and be a light that shines so bright today that it has the impact to save someone's life. And this episode is brought to you by and powered by T-Mobile. T-Mobile has the fastest network in Louisiana. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, my friend, my homeboy from Lake Charles, Louisiana, Mr. Justin D. Vincent.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, bro, I'm so glad that you're here. I have some things that I want to share from your bio, man, because you were so dynamic in your high school years and here at LSU. But you were one of the most popular figures in LSU history. And that says a lot, brother, because we've had a lot of guys and girls come through here. Becoming the first player ever to top 200 yards in the SEC championship game. Bruh, ever?
Yeah, that's something else.
Right. You ran for 201 yards against Georgia in that game. Also, that earned you the freshman MVP honors. And that helped propel the Tigers to an SEC title in the program's first national championship game appearance in 45 years.
Yeah. It's when you start to think about it like that, and you put some age under your belt, you kind of realize, kind of the magnitude of what things were back then and what you were a part of. Even to this day, I'm 41 years old, and it's surreal.
It's surreal, man.
Surreal.
Wow. At the time, coming out of Barbe High School in Lake Charles, Louisiana, you were the number 3 running back in the nation coming out of your senior year. You were a parade All-American. Do they still have parade All-American?
I don't know if they still do it. Obviously, I'm not in the football world anymore like that, right. So I don't really look for it, but I know they did it for a really, really long time.
Yeah, because I was a parade All-American coming out in this. I'm 51 years old, so I got you about 10 years, and they were doing it then. So that's pretty cool. And you were the Gatorade's Louisiana Mr. Football Player of the Year in high school, coming out of high school. And I won't read this because this is at the end of your LSU career, and we'll get into all of that. But, man, JV, as I call you, I'm so excited and so honored, brother, for you to join me here on the Geaux2Legends podcast, because we get to hear about who Justin Vincent really is, where you began your career, where you found your love of the sport, and you were a multiple sport athlete, like a lot of us was back in our day.
Mm-hmm.
And then ultimately had a fantastic career and some things that you're doing now. But to get us started, think back to early age, 5, 6, I don't know, maybe you were 2 years old, you were so good. But where and at what age did you really find your true love for sports, whether it was football, track, baseball, or all three?
I was just a rough kid growing up, man. Grew up in the country in Southwest Louisiana, South Lake Charles. My family had been in this area since it was homestead. We had cows, horses, pigs, the whole nine. It was kind of funny because me and some buddies were talking about this not too long ago, actually, like for Mardi Gras break. they was like, man, I wonder how you got, like, they were asking questions how I got fast. And I was like, well, early on, whenever we go to pen the cows to get them worm, my grandfather didn't have a horse for me to get on. So I was on foot. And you running through knee-high grass, if you don't pick your knees up, you're in a bind.
You're in a bind.
You're in a bind.
That's
so,
right.
and I think that's, that was one of the key factors. But as far as like getting involved in sports, obviously I did the whole T-ball thing like everybody else, coaches pitching machine. My mom didn't let me play football till 6th grade. And I knew that was something I wanted to give a try because we always played in my front yard all the time. And, I'd drive by, Weaver Park. I see the Pre-Lake Panthers practicing, and I'd get mad and not talk to my mom, and she would want to whip me. And my dad was like, chill out, let him play. And so it was one of those things. And when I finally got to play in 6th grade, which was kind of devastating, too, at the same time, because there were so many kids that went out for the 6th grade team, they split it up. And they had the S.J. Wells Colts, and then they had a rec team called the Panthers. So obviously none of the coaches or anything knew anything about me prior to. They knew prior knowledge about the other kids because they played for the Panthers.
Right.
But so they, prior to them getting S.J. Wells, so they put me on the team, and, dude, we dominated. We beat our 7th grade team. Like, I mean, it was one of them things where you just kind of knew. And I remember like it was yesterday, I had a horse named Mike, and I came home and I told my mom, I was like, yeah, you can sell that. I think I found out what I want to do.
No more true country boy.
No more true country boy, man. I mean, even though like I'm still as country as I'll get out to this day, I knew that, having a horse and wanting to play sports wasn't conducive to what I was trying to do because of time scheduling. And I also played soccer too before I got a chance to, and I think that helped out a lot. But yeah, that was one of those things I didn't play till 6th grade.
Man, Lake Charles had soccer? Well,
oh yeah, man.
Maybe South Lake Charles,
North
Lake Charles where I grew up.
I played in North Lake Charles. I played over there for Enterprise. Not Enterprise. In Oak Park.
In Oak Park.
In Oak Park. I played in Oak Park.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's new to me because I've never seen or heard, maybe during my time, because I do have you about 10 years, I never saw soccer.
Oh yeah, I played at Mid City. I played right there.
Yeah, I know.
Saturday mornings,
I
8
played
a.m.
T-ball Mid City, but not soccer. Good night, man. So you find your love at 6th grade. You guys dominate. You start to find some traction, some true love for the game of football. And obviously you played through middle school like a lot of us did, our elementary school, middle school, and then ultimately you get to Barbe High School. And maybe there's some interesting stories on from 6th grade getting into Barbe, and if there's some fun facts or anything that help you understand that dynamics in getting to Barbe High School, share that with us. Yeah,
so I was always pretty fast kid, but obviously it wasn't tested, right? It wasn't like track and you wasn't timed and all that stuff. So, but all my friends knew, and anybody is from Lake Charles, everybody knows the Craychans, and Julius Craychan is one of my best friends. And they all went to LaGrange. So I was like petitioning my mother for me to go to LG. But my mom was in the first graduating class from Barbe. My brother went there, played basketball. My cousins went there. I mean, it's literally a stone throw away from my house.
Right.
So I knew that was, probably a done deal that I was going to Barbe, but I literally was petitioning the heck out of my mom for me to go to LaGrange. And so were the Craychans.
Right.
But obviously it worked out really cool. I got there as a freshman, didn't expect to play, and they had a guy, Russell Bond. Russell Bond was a starting quarterback at LaGrange. He transferred to Barbe High School, and he took the number 20. Because I used to wear number 20 because of my brother, even though he was a basketball player. And when I was told by Coach Shaver I can dress off of varsity, he was like, well, what number do you want? I was like, well, I want 20, but Russell has that. I said, is there any other number in the 20s? And he was like, yeah, 25. I said, yeah, I'll take it. It just so happened the 25th is my birthday, and it kind of worked out and all that good stuff. But yeah, I get there. I never forget, we're playing LaGrange, our biggest rival, people standing on the track. He puts me in on kickoff return. And I run it back 99 yards and get caught on the 1-yard line by the safety man. I mean, it was one of them.
It was probably the kicker. Come on, man.
It wasn't the kicker because I get teased about it by a bunch of my buddies because they called the guy who actually called me, his name is RV. Well, I don't know his real name, but they call him RV, and they was like, he didn't play and this and that and the other, and he was a backup, like 4th-string linebacker and all that stuff. So they always give me, hell about it. But yeah, man, it was just one of those things where I was just always a rough physical kid. And anybody growing up at that time, you were always outside.
That's right.
Right? Drinking out of water hose, eating frozen cups, like the whole nine. Like those were the times. And it's so different now because everybody's got an iPad on their hand. I got to, work my kid up for him to go outside nowadays. But, I mean, it's one of those things where I stayed outside until they told me to come in.
That's right. Street lights come. Well, my time was street lights.
Yeah. Time to come in, man. So that was kind of the gist of, my love for football. And I knew early on that, if nothing else, if I didn't play offense, I was going to play defense because I just love contact.
Yeah. And you were a 3-sport athlete.
Yeah.
Right? So football, track, and baseball.
Yep.
And you did all 3 at Barbe.
Did all 3.
And it's interesting because I was going to play baseball at Washington Marion, but it interfered with track. And because I was a sprinter, baseball season kind of was coming on like mid-track season. How did that work out for you, man? How did you juggle that time? Because I couldn't do it. I quit playing baseball to run track. So how did you juggle that time?
I would literally – so back then, I don't know what the schedules was like now. There was no baseball games on track days. Mm-hmm. So or vice versa. And I would literally go to track practice and go to baseball practice. Because track practice was starting my last period.
That's right.
And then baseball was after school.
Mm-hmm. So
by the time I got done with my sprints and, practicing exchanges and all that stuff, I was gassed up and ready to go.
Right.
And so it worked out perfect. I don't know how, schedules work today's world, but that's how I was able to do those things.
Oh, man. And I tell you, well, I guess you were a better manager of time than I was, and even that schedule, because I couldn't do it. I mean, as hard as we ran, I couldn't go from track practice to baseball. And I was just like, I'm done. So now I wish I could have managed my time better because baseball, I
wish I had that energy now, though. I tell you that, though, because I was like revving, ready to go. I mean, even to this day, we were talking about it prior to this starting. I have trouble sleeping. Like I go to bed every night like at 1 o'clock and I wake up at 7 on a dot.
Wow.
Without an alarm clock. It's just natural.
Well, and I tell you, unless you can find something to help it, it doesn't get any better because at 51, brother, at like 6:45, my eyes are wide open.
Yeah, and I don't take naps. I think naps are overrated. Like when I lay down, like if I take a nap and like we have something planned to do, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm not going.
Well, if I lay down, I don't care what time of the day it is. If I lay down and get ready for sleep, brother, you won't see me until tomorrow.
Yeah,
I promise you.
I'm not built for that nap stuff.
Oh wow! So let's go. Number 3 running back in the nation, your senior year, parade All-American, and you're starting to get letters from major universities around the country, or maybe just a couple, or maybe all of them. Take us through that recruiting process for you and how you ultimately came to the decision to make the LSU Tigers your football home.
It was pretty, I guess you could say, interesting. I mean, like as far as playing football in college, it never crossed my mind. Like it never was one of those things like it's on the forefront of every high school kid's mind, junior high, elementary kids. They want to go to college, want to go to their favorite college and play ball.
Especially now.
That wasn't even in my brain. Like it wasn't nowhere in the vicinity of my thought process or nothing. And then lo and behold, after my sophomore year, you start getting letters here and there, a couple here and there. And then, your junior year, here comes a bunch more. Then your senior year, here comes a bunch more. And it just kind of flourished. And it became to a point where it was almost overwhelming. I was a huge Georgia Bulldog fan growing up. My family lives in Georgia. They still do to this day. I would fly down there, stay with my uncle, go to camp, me and my good friend Ivan. We go to camp there. I went to camp there like 3 summers in a row. Never came to LSU's camp until my junior year because, hate to say this, you knew LSU was terrible back then, right?
Absolutely.
So, saying all that, though, but they still had some dynamic players. They just, for whatever reason, they couldn't put it together, right? You guys had from Herb to you to Kevin to, you go back and just a laundry list, Martin, like all these players, but for whatever reason, it was never over the hump.
That's right.
So it never crossed my mind about coming here until, Nick comes in first year, I guess in 2001, they go to the Sugar Bowl versus Illinois. I get, convinced me to come down here and take a visit. I visit Wisconsin, USC, Miami, and it just felt right.
Yeah.
But I actually, believe it or not, it was really a 3 deal. It was LSU after the visit, Georgia and Wisconsin. Georgia, who I literally was going to go to, stopped recruiting me the last week before signing day. Like, stopped calling, the whole 9. I don't know what it was. Just stopped calling. Wisconsin was literally in Lake Charles until the day before signing day. Brian White, I never forget him. Brian White was the running back coach and offensive coordinator. I mean, dude, he was like, you'll get the ball 40 times. This is right after Ron Dane.
Right.
He was like, we'll get the ball 40 times a game. You'll run yourself into the first round.
Wow.
Like, I just told you, like, college was, I didn't even think about it. And I dang sure wasn't thinking about NFL.
Right.
Like, I was just thinking about just going to school, this and that and other. And it kind of just came up really fast, right? And so when I came here, Josh Reed was my host. And,
great host.
Yeah. and it was Josh Reed, Blaine Besh, Ryan Clark. And it was just one of them things where it just felt like this is where I needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was one of them, I can't really explain it type deals,
right.
but it made me feel at home.
And I think all 4 of those guys you just mentioned, all are from Louisiana.
Yeah.
So it had to feel right.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Rain, New Orleans, Blaine is from Slidell.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt like I was supposed to be here. And, you come here and, it just, the rest is kind of history.
The rest is history, man.
Yeah.
You did your, obviously I read off some of your deals and your accomplishments here in Baton Rouge with our Tigers. And man, in 2003, you guys played Oklahoma in a national championship game, and you did some unbelievable things in that game. Take us back to that 2003 national championship game and the things that you do remember about that game and the most memorable part about it.
Well, I'm going to take you back actually the beginning of that season. I wasn't even supposed to play running back. Like, you had Joe and Sharon carry in front of me, and they both get hurt. Both get hurt in the Florida game. I got thrusted into action early on. We ended up losing that game. I only lost of the year. But then the next week I got my first start at South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And just never kind of looked back. And then you make it all the way to the national championship game. And what I loved about Jimbo and still love to this day, he's a really good coach now. I'm old enough to consider him my friend.
Right.
He always used to ask me what's my favorite running play. And I was like, Giant Power. And he's like, all right. I didn't think that was going to be the first play of the game.
Right.
And if you go back and actually look at the first play of the game, it was actually, I should have been stopped for a tackle for a loss in the backfield because, I'm not a defensive player, but I know defense. I coach defense for my kids' team.
Right.
And if the safety would have squeezed down like he's taught, because if the tackle blocks down, he has a shorter line to get to where he needs to be. He buckled. I mean, he just took maybe 1.5 step a little too wide, and I slipped underneath him. Because otherwise, he'd hit me in my teeth.
Yeah.
And we just, after that run, I got up and, you can't hear anything. It feels like I got speakers attached to my ears. It's so loud. And, in my mind, I was like, yeah, we're probably going to win today.
Bruh.
Yeah, it's a wrap. And
how often in those plays, because I know when I was playing, and you can probably attest to the same thing, I was watching a 30 for 30 documentary the other day, and shucks, I forget who it was, but as players, when we're out there playing, in that play, that run, you rip that run off, first play from the line of scrimmage, you don't hear anything.
No.
And my friends and family, they say, well, how can you not hear, 90, 95,000 people? It's just we have that block that just goes away.
The only time I ever heard the offense, the crowd, is when I'm watching the defense.
Yeah.
That's it. Because when you're out there, you're so focused on your assignment, there's no room for clutter. There's no room for you to be out there and kind of in awe and in the gaze,
That's
and,
right.
the atmosphere, because that's when mistakes happen.
That's right.
You try to focus in a guy like me who's, fresh meat, young, and, you got to seize every moment. And God forbid I went out there and messed up. Hell, I might not play again.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
So you always had to be focused at all times.
Yeah, man. So we get through that game, that national championship game, and we rip off the rest of the season. You get through that year, and you play another 3 years at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
You graduate,
Mm-hmm.
right? We cannot let that go unnoticed.
Yep.
You graduate from LSU. And before I move into the National Football League, because I'm going to ask you about that, what is Justin Vincent's most memorable moment in being a Tiger inside the locker room? Now, be careful. You don't need to tell everything.
No.
A memorable moment that.
So you always hear from, fans of LSU, especially, you being you and the job you have, and you meeting a lot of people, and they always ask you these intriguing questions about what is it like running through the tunnel and all this other stuff.
Right.
I never really gave it any thought as far as wow, I'm playing in front of this massive crowd on a Saturday night. People are drinking up a storm. They're cheering. They love this place, the whole nine. And the first time I actually kind of sat back and kind of took it all in was when that 03 year when we played Georgia at home the first time. It was hot as the dickens out there, man. I think it was like a 99 or 100 something with a heat index about 110. And I only played special teams that game. I actually had 2 tackles on special teams on punt and almost caused a fumble. And whenever, I forgot who that was. When Sharon scored, I was like, dang, this is loud. Then at the end of the game, I was supposed to go in because my claim to fame in the football coaches world, I was a great blocker. So it was a sprint right, and I used to cut the heck out of D linemen and linebackers. I was one of them ones who did exactly what I was told. He was going to cut a flip, the whole nine.
That's when it was legal.
Yeah, but Joe was in there. So I'm standing on the sideline watching, and Matt rolls out and throws the ball to Sharon. I mean, that was the loudest thing till this day that I've ever heard in my life.
Wow.
Ever. Crazy. I mean, it's one of the things that you can sit up here and talk about till the cows come home, but unless you actually were there to experience that, you will never understand what I'm saying.
Wow. I cannot let this go unnoticed because you said something a few seconds ago. You said hot as a Dickens. I don't know what a Dickens is.
I don't know me either, but it sounds good.
We're going to have to figure out what that is.
I heard my daddy say that a long time ago, so it's whatever.
Oh.
I'm just pulling from him.
Hey, brother. It makes sense to me. I get it. But brother, man, this is this show is we're powered by T-Mobile, man, and T-Mobile has the most available 5G network in Louisiana. So we're so grateful for T-Mobile being part of our team, man. So appreciate that. So moving from your time at LSU and you get ready for the draft. I know, when I was getting ready, they asked me to go to New York. I refused to go to New York because New York wasn't there. My career, my family was. So you're getting ready to move into the draft or draft day or all of that fun stuff. Take us through that time and the feelings that you had going through that process.
That might have been, if not the most depressing, it's in the top 3 for sure. And I don't have many bad days, man. I have bad situations, right? I tear my ACL my junior year here. I come back my senior year. I had a split time with Jacob and Keelan and Charles. So I'm not getting the reps I should get or I thought I should get, or vice versa. But anyways, that's a whole nother story. And come time for, the draft, I'm getting calls from Atlanta, getting calls from Baltimore, We thinking about, 5th or 6th round, blah, blah, blah. Because a lot of teams weren't sure about my knee and thought the reason why I wasn't getting a lot of carries my senior year is because I was still kind of lingering injury, right?
Right.
So that process happens. Don't get a call. Ended up going to Atlanta because it seemed like the right situation for me. Warwick was like in this maybe 1 or 2 years removed from retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed more feasible,
Right.
right? Go there. Unfortunately, I had Bobby Petrino as my head coach. He had, left Arkansas after his little deal. Came over there. And, no, it didn't happen first. I lied to you. He left Louisville and came to Atlanta. And then he realized that this wasn't for him because the way he coaches and the way he talks to people is not conducive to people who make more money than you.
Mm-hmm.
And
we're familiar with, some other names as well.
Yeah. So you kind of got to watch your tone.
Right.
Because you will get choked out.
That's right.
In front of everybody.
From other grown men.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
it was just with that being said, it was just a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
He leaves us week 6. Oh no, that wasn't week 6. It was like week 3, and basically told everybody this wasn't for him. And then I got released probably about a week or 2 before that,
Mm-hmm.
and then go home for, a couple of days, and then get a call from Pittsburgh and end up being there the rest of my career. But other than being around Todd McClure, who I love dearly, who lives by me,
Right.
that was probably one of the worst situations I've ever been in my life. It was just so much uncertainty, and you knew
Right.
obviously now that it wasn't for him. He wasn't being there, so he wasn't running it right, and things weren't going right. So it was just a total fiasco.
Right. And so you leave Atlanta, you get the call from Pittsburgh, and if I'm not mistaken, that Mike Tomlin was still the head coach.
Yeah, my
at the
rookie
time.
year was his rookie year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were in that thing together. We got
Right.
there together. Yeah.
And didn't you guys win the Super Bowl that year, or
Next
was
year.
it the following year?
The following year.
So you have a Super Bowl with the
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah, the following year. My first year we lost to. It was crazy because it seemed like everything worked for them. David Garrard and freaking Maurice Jones-Drew ran up a storm on us. David was slinging that thing all over the place. They had to score in the fourth quarter, like with a couple minutes left to win. They ended up doing that. David Garrard ripped off this long run, and
Yeah.
it was first round of playoffs. But yeah, the next year we kind of walked the dog a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you played in Pittsburgh the rest of your career, as you mentioned. You retire from the National Football League,
Mm-hmm.
and you return back to LSU,
Yeah.
like so many of us,
Yeah.
in 2012.
Yeah.
And you were the assistant director of player personnel and director of player development.
Yeah.
And reading that and knowing now, I thought that Kevin was the first director of
No.
player development, but you had that title
Yeah.
before.
It was created for me.
Yeah.
He was trying to find a way to get me in the building because the interesting part about that is when I came back here, I was actually training kids at which is now Traction. It was Marucci Elite.
That's right.
Me, Joe Lawrence, who's from Lake Charles, first-round draft pick from Barbe High School, baseball. Him and Kurt Ainsworth, they were running that. So I was doing like the speed and conditioning for the youth teams.
Mm-hmm.
Was back here in school, ran into Les at Sullivan's, offered me, he said, hey, man, I might have something you're interested in. Why don't you come see me? Go see him. I actually was a transit employee at first with event management with Julie Cribbs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was there for like 6 months, and then I moved over to football, like right after that 2011 season.
Yeah.
Like, no, 2010. Yeah, 10, back into 10, like being in 11.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man, and it's crazy. And I'm not sure, like, all of the guys even before you who were former athletes who, were back in the building to help with football after their playing career. Maybe you were the first because you said they created this position
Yeah.
for you. So maybe you were the first in that scope. So I'll thank you, man, for, creating and performing in that role, because after you, it was Kevin and then me.
Yeah.
And Kelvin Shepard at the same time.
I think for you guys, though, it was a more defined role.
Right.
Like for me, it was like fly on the seat of your pants, like one of them learn as you go type deals.
Right.
I think you guys had a little bit more structure. I was actually learning on the go because nobody really knew what that was. Right. I knew, I was going to take a lot of burden off of Coach Nader.
Yeah.
Who was the one that was unfortunately getting those phone calls if a guy got in trouble or if somebody wasn't going to class and, all that stuff. So I took a lot of that off his plate, help, organize, speakers about sex ed and financial literacy and things like that. But yeah, it was literally make up as you go.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we need to do. And, I called Ray Jackson, who was the our development guy in Pittsburgh, and he kind of gave me some pointers a little bit. Well, what I should do as far as speaker wise goes.
Right.
Obviously, on the other end, they do some things that we don't do, but he helped out quite a bit.
Yeah. Wow, man. Well, again, man, I thank you for creating that and starting that because it's absolutely needed, and it's still useful to this day. I'm gonna switch gears on you just a little bit. Because I always like to talk about families, and you are a family man. Your husband, your father of two beautiful boys.
Two bad kids, man. Don't let the curls fool you.
Hey, brother. Hey, they're beautiful. Your wife, Angie, obviously, you guys have been married for a number of years. Tell us a little bit about your wife and your kids, man, and why they are your why of what you do on a daily basis.
Yeah, man. It's I don't know, man. You never envision yourself, me. I thought I was gonna run the streets for the rest of my life.
We all did.
Yeah, man. It is, it's one of them things, man. And then you run across somebody who thinks the way you think, envisions the things you envision. I tell people this all the time. She's way too good for me. And I ain't saying that. I ain't looking for no brownie points. That ain't what I'm doing.
Right.
I just call a spade a spade. It is what it is.
But you're going to get some brownie points when she says it.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. Great mother, friend, partner, my boys. So y'all pray for me because my oldest is maturing. He's going to third grade next year. I coach his football team. I was coaching his baseball team too, but he decided that he wasn't playing baseball this year and he wants to do soccer to get his feet right for football. So I'm not opposed to all of that.
That's right.
The youngest one, he's different.
Yeah.
Super aggressive. He's
That's
little.
Always the second kid.
He's little. So Justice is in the 90 percentile for everything. Mm-hmm. Jax was in like the 30 percentile.
And Jax is the
youngest
son.
one, yeah. He's in the 30 percentile for everything. And he is about as fiery as any little person you would imagine. Mm-hmm. It's nonstop. It don't stop. I always, refer to them. I tell people, if you ever had a dog and you give a dog a bath and they get their second wind, right? They run around like they're crazy. That's my kids every night after they get out the tub. Every night.
It's the second born. I promise you. I'm the second kid. I have.
I'm the second one, but golly, my mama said I was bad, but that dude different. He is different.
It's wonderful, man, and it's good, man. I'm proud of you because I see you with Angie, and I see you with your kids, man. And I want to commend you on not only a phenomenal football career, but being the husband and the father that you are, man. I've seen the love, and I see the time that you spent, and yet that you spend with them and in loving them, man. So I commend you for that, and I'm proud of you, brother.
Yeah, it's one of them things too. You learn as you go, man.
Yeah.
And we just got a dog, which I thought was I still think is a bad idea. It ain't my idea, bro. I promise you. Yeah, because they so expensive. I mean, the kids are already expensive. You got kids.
Right.
They expensive.
They cost money.
Man, the dog too?
Yeah.
Come on, man. I need a break.
Yeah. Just don't put the dog in the bathtub with the kids.
Oh, that's a wrap.
You're gonna get triple.
Oh no, I ain't getting none of that. No.
So right now we're gonna wrap this thing up. Right now, your current job, you're the director of athletic alumni engagement for the Tiger Athletic Foundation.
Right.
How long have you had that role?
So the role is only about a year and some change, but I've been at TAF for the last 7 years.
Okay.
So when I left football in 16, I went directly over here. Had an opportunity to go with Nick in Alabama. Couldn't make it work for whatever reason because, my wife, she at the time, she needed to have direct access to an airport. And if you live in Tuscaloosa, you got to drive to Birmingham an hour. I live 10 minutes from BTR. Right. So it was one of them things I had to take one on the chin because no telling where I'd be if I was over there with Nick. You know what I mean? Because he does help his folks, elevate their careers and all that stuff. But I say all that to say this: I immensely enjoy what I do. Yeah. I am an ambassador for the university that has provided an opportunity for me to chase my dreams and goals. I just want to make it better than the way I left it. Yeah, man. And it's, the best part about what I do, half the time I feel like I'm not working. Right. So I guess, I'm at that point in my life where I think that's always the goal. Yeah. Where you feel like you're not working. I enjoy, entertaining our donors, stewardship with them and, raising athletic funds for our facilities and scholarships. So it's a true blessing. That's
a true blessing, man. And I can say that your demeanor, your character, and in your integrity, I've seen it. I know it carries over from being a husband and a father into the role of that you have at Tiger Athletic Foundation. I've talked to some of our donors and sponsors and had conversations about who Justin Vincent is as a man. And if no one has ever told you, brother, that you are consistent and very good at what you do as a husband, as a father, and as a representative of LSU athletics. Definitely. So we appreciate you, brother. Thank you, man. Yeah. All of our listeners, they're going to be tuning in, and they may want to follow Justin Vincent on social media, man. How can our listeners and viewers go and follow Justin Vincent?
On Twitter is jvincent25, and on Instagram is jvincent25.
Easy enough, man. jvincent25.
That's it.
Man, I appreciate you. I love you, man. I'm glad that we're friends. I'm glad we get to share this space together at LSU in our experienced later years in life. And more importantly, man, I'm proud to call you my friend, and I'm proud to call you homeboy from Lake Charles, Louisiana. Thank you. Yeah, the Chuck, man. Thank you for joining Geaux2Legends, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we are powered by T-Mobile. T-Mobile has the fastest network in Louisiana. It has the most available 5G network in Louisiana. And I'll end with this. If no one has told you today, let me be the first to tell you, I love you with the love of Christ. There's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. And be a light that shines so bright today that it has the impact to save someone's life. Until next episode, peace and love. Geaux2Legends fans, we ask that you subscribe, like, share, tell everybody who's an LSU fan, your uncle, your mom, your dad, your cousin, sister, everybody. Share this with them, have them do the same, and I promise you, y'all won't regret being a part of the Geaux2Legends podcast.
The struggle, the hustle, the blood, the sweat, the tears from the L's you took, don't forget. Survival of the fittest, the cheers, the rings and bucks, now legendary status, that's what's up. The struggle, the hustle, the blood, the sweat, the tears from the L's you took, don't forget. Survival of the fittest, the cheers, the rings and bucks, now legendary status, that's what's up.